7:30 p.m. Thank you for joining us. So before we start, just making sure that everyone check their volume, make sure the volume is working. If you have any questions, please hold on till the end of all the presentations, and you can put your question in the chat box or the Q&A box, and the presenters will respond to, I will share the questions and the presenters will respond. If you're listening by phone and have any questions, please type your questions in the Q&A box. All right, so today's agenda, we will have introduction and welcome from the Fax. Our executive director will share facts about our Fax 2020 survey key facts. We will have presentation from Denver Urban Renewal Authority with Kate. We'll have Amy, who is a behavior education program manager from Energy Outreach, Colorado. We will also have Brooke and Stefka from Elevation Community Land Trust do a presentation. After those presentations, we will have a Q&A session for the audience. And then we will have Fax Partnership 2020. We will share our upcoming events. And also at the end, we will have special prizes. So make sure you stay tuned until the end. We have gift cards from King Soopers, gift card from Ace Hardware, and also from Lucy's Restaurant. So stay tuned until the end. And now, without any further ado, I would like to introduce our Executive Director, Monica Martinez, who will share about Fax staff and also share some key facts about our 2020 residential survey. So thank you.
Thank you, Nade. So thank you all for joining us, and to our panelists, and especially to our community members. My name is Monica Martinez, like Nade said, and we're the Fax Partnership. We've been around since 2004. We're a 501c3, and we're here to strengthen and support the residents and businesses along this East Colfax corridor. We're also working to promote equity and advocate for community serving development. What does that mean? That means we were pivotal in encouraging the city to purchase 7900 East Colfax and 8315 East Colfax. Both of those projects are going to be affordable housing projects and breaking ground later this year. So thank you for joining us. I would like to also introduce our staff. Next slide, thank you. So we have a growing team. You already met Nade, she'll be the MC tonight. Amlaku is our Amharic interpreter tonight, and he's also on our team. He's an outreach assistant. Veronica Conchas is also an outreach assistant, and she's the producer tonight. And then Sabe Kemmer is our business outreach manager. And last but not least is Antoinette West. So we have a pretty strong team. I'm really proud of all 6 of us and the work we're doing on East Colfax to support the residents and businesses like those of you on the phone tonight. So next slide. Last year in 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic, we launched a residential survey. In February, we were blithely thinking about doing a survey, had no idea that we were going to launch it in what was a global pandemic. And over the 2-month window of that survey, we received 450 respondents. 369 were from the immediate East Colfax community, but we did receive 450 responses. Half of those were homeowners and half were renters. We asked questions around income and fixed costs, and were able to determine that folks had housing cost burden. We also determined about 30% of our homeowners had issues of keeping their homes cool in the summer. 26% of our respondents said they had home repairs they could not afford to fix. And of those that had home repairs they could not fix, and the reason 50% of them said was because they could not afford it. We also learned that most of our respondents said they wanted to live in this community on the long term, that they love to call East Colfax corridor home. And so these survey responses really drove our work for the last year, which was trying to connect our residents to services such as those that'll be featured on tonight's call. We also have a business support office where we support our East Colfax businesses to help them stay and thrive. And so for that reason, tonight we have 3 great organizations that are going to talk to you about strategies for helping to lower your home energy, your home costs, whether it's your energy or home repairs, or an interesting new model about how you can stay in your home by joining a land trust. So please stay through the call. We also have some great prizes. And yeah, next slide. So we have a quick poll to help kick off this first session. And the first question is, do you have home repairs that you cannot afford to make? You can put yes, no, or I'm not sure. That might help our panelists understand who's on the call and whether this is an issue that you're dealing with. Studies show that if you have home repairs you can't afford to make, and then that repair gets worse, it can drive you out of your home. Maybe you need to sell it as a result. So we're really trying to help folks make these home repairs. You want to close that poll? And thereby stay in the community. So wow, 83% of the folks on the call have home repairs they can't afford to make. So next question. Did you know that there was a home repair assistance program available for homeowners? Yes or no? Okay, we'll close that up. So 30% of you did know and 70% of you didn't know. So great, I'm going to hand it over to Kate with Denver Urban Renewal Authority, who will walk us through their programs around home repair. Thank you so much, Kate.
All right, good evening. I'm Kate McElhaney. I'm the Grants Management Supervisor at Denver Urban Renewal Authority. I'm really excited to talk to you all, especially after seeing those polls. So a little bit of background on Denver Urban Renewal Authority. I don't know if I can go to the next slide or not. We've been around for almost 50 years. And so we were created through the City Council of Denver to create a community of revitalization and economic development. There's two wings of Denver Urban Renewal Authority. So there is the one that more people are common with, or most people are common with, which is the redevelopment programs, where we work on bigger spectrum redevelopment programs throughout the city. But the other program that we have that I'm going to talk mostly about tonight is our housing rehabilitation programs. And what we're able to do with those is I will go down, we have 3 active programs currently, and we provide grants and low interest and no interest loans to Denver homeowners and 1 program for renters to be able to help you all stay in your homes and keep your homes accessible and up to repairs. And so if you don't mind switching to the next slide. So yeah, there's Dura as a whole. So we have the redevelopment side, which I'm not going to get into so much, mostly because that's not my wheelhouse, and also because it's not really applicable to the programs that we're able to offer you all. And then we have our housing program, which is most of the Dura staff work in the housing programs. And so we're really dedicated to keeping folks in Denver in their homes and helping them provide resources to be able to do so. Okay. So we have 3 active programs. We have the emergency home repair program, and that is our biggest and, in my opinion, probably the most important one. We're able to provide essential home emergencies to low and moderate income Denver homeowners. So if you own your home, you live in Denver, and we'll go over the income in a little bit, and you've got some sort of home emergencies, such as your heater isn't working or your sewer line has failed, you can come to us and we can get you a no interest loan. And I can explain a little bit more about what that looks like in the long term. But it's a great alternative than having to borrow money in other ways, because you're not collecting interest, you're not making payments on that loan. The next program we have that I'll go into as well is our single family rehabilitation program. And so that one has a higher funding cap, so you're able to qualify for more funding, and we do full home rehabilitation to make your home safe and livable for low and moderate income Denver homeowners. So we do everything from electrical work and work on the inside of the home to new siding, new roofs, new windows, sometimes foundation work even with our Denver homeowners in that program. And then our last program, the RAMP program, is strictly a grant. And so that is for folks with disabilities. And that program is eligible for homeowners and renters in Denver. You just have to live in Denver and have a disability and meet our income requirements, and we can work with you to get modifications such as wheelchair ramps or walk-in showers, or anything that you might need for your disability. Would you mind switching over to the next page? So our biggest program is the Emergency Home Repair Program. So we call it EHR, and it goes up to $10,000, and it's to address home emergencies. One thing I like to point out is you are capped at $10,000 every 5 years. And so sometimes these home emergencies might not actually cost $10,000. So maybe you have a couple different home emergencies that happen over the course of those 5 years. So you might have a $2,000 heating crisis, and then you might have a $2,000 plumbing crisis. You can qualify for those as long as your total doesn't exceed $10,000 every 5 years. Once you're approved, and you would work in-house with our loan specialist to be able to get you through the income verification and making sure that you do qualify with our income program, then Dura would work with you on handling the contractor bids. So we have a rehabilitation specialist that goes out, and they take care of doing the inspection, identifying what's going on, what the problem is going on in your home. And then they work with contractors. Contractors submit bids, and then the lowest contractor is the one that would get the bid. And then Dura is actually the one that pays the contractor. So you don't have to handle any of those funds, any part of recruiting the contractor or anything in that capacity. All of these loans are deferred loans, which means that you're never going to make a payment and there's not going to be an interest. When you need to repay the loan is when there's going to be a change in ownership to your home. So if you were to sell your home, that's when the money would be due back to Dura. But if you're planning on staying in your home for a long time, this is a great program for you, because you wouldn't have to repay it back until many, many years from now when you decide to sell your home. And then most importantly, if the full cost of your first repair is less than $2,500, it could be a grant instead of a loan. So if you're concerned about the idea of having that mortgage lien on your home, if it is a smaller cost repair that is less than $2,500, we'd be able to do that at a grant level instead of the loan. So what are the emergency home repairs? What constitutes as an emergency home repair? We have specific criteria in terms of what would constitute as an emergency home repair. So the first being a sewer system failure or a broken sewer piping between the house and the city sewer. So you might notice this if your toilets aren't flushing correctly, your drains aren't draining correctly, or sometimes you might have actually gotten a notice from the wastewater department of the city that your sewer line is cracked and it's leaking into the environment. When those things happen, please call us, because we can definitely get you, as long as you're income qualified, we could get you through the EHR program. Another one is exceptionally unsafe, unsanitary conditions. So if there's something such as bed bugs going on in your home that you need removed or mediated, we could do that through EHR. The next one is a loss of a utility. So if your gas line is broken or leaking and the utility company has shut it off, if your electrical system not safe, or maybe it's going out on constantly, we can take care of that. Or your water, if you have a plumbing issue or your water pipe is broken, so you're not getting water into your home, we can help you with that as well. The next one is furnaces that have been deemed inoperable or hazardous. So if your furnace is not working, or if the utility company has red tags it, so marked it as unsafe and you can't use it, those would be times we'd be able to come out and help you and replace that. Leaky rooms, which should threaten habitability. So if you have a leaky roof, actually, sorry, it's supposed to say roofs, not room. And so if you have a leaky roof, we'd be able to work with that and fix that for you. We could also do, in some instances, we could do the gutter. If the gutter is leaking into your home, we can fix that as well. Other plumbing failure issues, electrical issues. And then last but not least is removal of asbestos if it's in association with your furnace installation. So if you are needing a furnace replaced and you have asbestos, we will also be able to remove the asbestos when we put in a new furnace. To qualify for the emergency home repair program, the first and biggest caveat is that you must be a Denver homeowner and you must occupy the home. We can't do emergency home repair programs with rentals. So you have to be living in your home. It also has to qualify as an emergency, which I went down the list in the previous slide. You can't have more than $25,000 in liquid assets. The reason being is this program is funded through the federal government through HUD, and that is a HUD requirement. You can't be delinquent in payments to the federal government, which goes back to also, this is a federal program. So that would mostly be if you are failing to pay your IRS income taxes, would be the biggest concern there, that we'd have to get that addressed before we could get you approved for this program. The next one is you need to be current on your Denver property taxes. And so if you have a mortgage, more than likely your mortgage company is already paying your property taxes for you through your mortgage payment. If you don't have a mortgage, you want to make sure that you're making those payments every spring to the city and county of Denver for your property tax. And then last but not least, our income cap is 80% area median income. So there's a chart over on the right that shows you what the income requirements or income guidelines are for this year for 2021. So you can see if you're a single person household, it's $55,950. Whereas if you are a 4-person household, it's $79,900. One thing that's really important to know with how we calculate taxes versus many other organizations that do income requirement programs is we do taxable income. So that means if you have something such as child support that you are receiving, that's not going to be taxable income. So if you're trying to do a mental calculation of how much, if you would qualify for our programs, do not add in your child support because that will not be calculated in it. Also, another really common non-taxable income is most people's Social Security, or at least a portion of your Social Security, may not be taxable. So that being said, if you are looking at these numbers over on the chart and you think your household income is close, but maybe over what you're seeing on the chart, still please reach out to us and we can look at your financial situation and see what your actual taxable income is, because you might still actually qualify. The next program we have is single family rehabilitation. So this loan product is much higher than the one I just spoke about. So it goes up to $50,000. So I do like to point out that we are able to do rehabilitation. We're not able to do remodeling. So we're not able to do, for example, additions on homes, but we can do a home rehab. Once you're approved, same process as the previous loan, we handle the contractor bids. So a Dura staff, a rehabilitation staff will come out, do a full home inspection on your home, and will identify what major systems need to be repaired or replaced based off of if it has a life expectancy of 5 years. So they're going to look at your plumbing, they're going to look at your electrical, they're going to look at your roof, they're going to look at your foundation, they're going to look at your sewer system, and they're going to make sure that all of those will be good and you won't have to replace them for the next 5 years. If you do have to replace those within the next 5 years, those are going to be the #1 priorities that they're going to ask that we put into the scope of work for you to get replaced. And then the contractors, Dura contractors would come out and submit bids as well. And then the lowest bidding contractor would be the one that would win the work. And then through the construction process, because this one takes a little bit longer, Dura oversees the payments to the contractor. And so the Dura rehabilitation specialist would work with you to make sure that the work is being done correctly and then have you sign off on it. The Dura staff signs off on it. And then Dura, it actually pays the contractor. So again, you're not having to handle trying to find a contractor, get financing to do this work on your home, and then also paying the contractor. Dura handles all of that for you. With this program, the Dura loans are either no interest or they're a deferred payment, no interest deferred payment loan. So just as the emergency home repair program that I just spoke about, or if you are a moderate income, which I'll go over, you would be at a 1% interest rate for amortized over 20 years, or it might be a combination of the two. So for example, if your area median income is 50% or below, which is about $36,000 for a single individual, you will be in the bracket where you are making no monthly payments and you have no interest. And so as long as you own your home, you will not owe DORA any money and you won't collect any interest. If your area median income, so if your household income is between 50 and 65%, then the first $27,500 will be repaid at a 1% interest rate, and the remaining amount is deferred. So it's about $120 to $130 a month that you'd be making monthly payments. And if you are in the higher moderate income bracket of 65% to 80%, then the first $32,500 would be repaid at a 1%. And then the rest would be deferred. And again, all the deferred loans are repaid when there's a change in ownership. With the single family rehabilitation, you can get lead-based paint mitigation. So if your home is older than 1978, we can mitigate the paint there, which is really important, especially if you have young children in the home. It can be a health hazard. We can repair and replace roofs. We can fix unstable foundations. We can replace mechanical issues such as faulty furnaces and water heaters. We can replace electrical work, plumbing, sewer and system failure. And we can replace windows, dorms, storm windows, and then do weatherization. We can do exterior painting, and we can do, again, repair unsanitary and unsafe conditions, such as dilapidated porches, unsafe steps and railings to your home. I'm going to the next slide. And the income bracket, as you see over here, is the same as what I just mentioned with the emergency home repair program. And so again, you need to be a Denver homeowner. You can't have more than $25,000 in liquid assets. And then the income caps are exactly the same as the emergency home repair. And I'm going to the next slide. And then our last program, which does currently have a wait list, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but if you are interested, you can apply for services at the beginning of 2022. And that's the RAMP program. And that's a grant that averages about $7,500, and it addresses disability-related modification. Once approved, DURA again handles the contractor bids and the payments to the contractors, and all of the work just has to be disability-related. Can you go to the next slide? So with RAMP, it's any sort of permanent disability-related modification, and all the work has to be related to the disability. So you can see some pictures over to my right of some showers we've done, grab bars we've installed at toilets, and then a wheelchair ramp in front of a house as well. Would you mind going to the next slide? The RAMP program is a lower income restriction. So this is 50% area median income, which the income guidelines are over to the right. Again, that's taxable income. So if you have Social Security or child support, that may not be qualified, or that may not be calculated in your income. If you are a renter, you can qualify for this program. You just need your housing provider to sign off on a waiver, and you need to be in a 12-month lease. And then again, you have to reside in Denver County.
Okay,
Can you go to the next slide?
For just a second before you said you have to reside in Denver.
Oh, sorry. So, I'm not sure. So with the RAMP program, you can be a renter. You would need your landlord or your housing provider to sign off on a waiver. And then you do need to be in a 12-month lease. But everything else besides the income being a lower income cap and having a disability is the same as our other two programs. And to apply for any of our DURA programs, you can either on the slide, you can call DURA, which our main line is right there at 303-534-3872. Or you may go onto our website at renewdenver.org. And if you select the Apply Now button on the housing page, it will prompt you over to a portal where you can start an application. If you go over to that portal and you aren't able to go through, or it's a little confusing, that's okay. Just give us a call and we can walk you through the rest of it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kate, for that wonderful presentation and for sharing those wonderful resources for individuals who are homeowners. That's great. And we will ask questions at the end of all the presentations. So thank you for that. Now, before we move on to the next presenter, we will do a quick poll. And the question is, are your utility costs too high, currently too high? Yes or no? So we'll give it a few seconds and then we will close the poll. All right, we can go ahead and close the poll. Wow, it was 50-50 split, half and half. So 50% answered yes and 50% answered no. Really interesting. Thank you. For the next question, would you be interested in making home energy upgrades? Yes or no? All right, we close the poll. Wow, 100% everyone. Okay, that's really interesting. Wow, yeah, home upgrades, those can be costly. So therefore, I can understand where folks will be interested in having home updates. So without further ado, we'll have Amy from Energy Outreach Colorado share her presentation about supporting your home with energy needs. So Amy, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm excited to tell you about our programs as well. That could be a good complement to Dura's programs also. I'm the Energy Education Program Manager at Energy Outreach Colorado, and I'll tell you about some of our programs. So next slide, please. So Energy Outreach Colorado is a nonprofit that helps to support, stabilize, and sustain Coloradan households to be able to afford their energy usage. I'm going to go through all of these programs, or the ones that are most applicable in the next slides, but just as a preview, we support Coloradans through our bill payment assistance program and through our SIP program, which is a crisis intervention program that provides emergency furnace repair and replacement. We also stabilize through our energy efficiency programs, our community solar program, and our energy education program, which I'm the manager of. And then finally, we sustain through doing advocacy at the state legislature to ensure that low-income Coloradans can continue to afford their energy usage. Next slide, please. All right, so first I'm going to go through our support areas. We have a utility bill payment assistance program. We partner with community agencies to help pay past due utility bills. This funding covers both electric and gas bills and is in addition to state and federal assistance programs. I'm going to talk about LEAP in just a moment, which you may have heard of also. This funding is in addition to LEAP, which is a state and federal program, and households can apply once per season. And our fiscal year ends in September and begins again in October. So you can reapply if you've received this assistance in the past every October. Next slide. So you're eligible for this assistance if you pay your home energy costs directly to an energy vendor or utility. And since probably most of you are in the East Colfax area and are homeowners, I'm guessing you qualify for that and probably pay a energy bill to Excel Energy every month. Your bill needs to be past due, or you're running low on fuel if you use heating fuel. And then you meet the income qualifications for your county. So that is 80% of area median income, which you're used to seeing on the other, on the Dura slides, And here is a table with household size and income limit for that. I'm going to give a lot of phone numbers and web pages on how to apply to our various programs. Feel free to jot them down. This presentation is also going to be sent out after. So if you miss anything, feel free, you'll get access to this again. But you can visit energyoutreach.org/find-agency. You can also navigate there from our homepage, energyoutreach.org. And you can find an agency near you that will provide that bill payment assistance, that will partner with us. Some of the agencies that are near the East Colfax neighborhood are St. Vincent de Paul, Catholic Charities, Denver Indian Family Resource Center. We also partner with Salvation Army. There's a number in the area that will be able to serve you, and you can find an agency and how to call them and contact them at that website. You can also call the HEAT helpline at 1-866-HEAT-HELP, 432-8435, to get connected to an agency also. They will look up, they use the same tool to look up that agency near you. So let's talk about LEAP, which is the Low Income Energy Assistance Program. So this program is funded with federal dollars, and it is administered by the state of Colorado to pay heating bills. Energy Outreach Colorado's programs kind of work in concert with this. So this is why I'm promoting this. It's also a great resource that everyone should apply to if you're eligible. Basically, approved applicants will receive a credit to their utility account that is applied to your heating costs each winter. So this funding is only for heating, whereas our Energy Outreach Colorado utility assistance will cover any additional utility bill that you have. And this one you need to apply once a year, even if you've received it in the past. The season opens November 1st. So if you have never applied to LEAP before, you can begin applying in November. If you have applied and received LEAP in the past, they will mail an application to you starting around September, October, and you can send that in whenever it arrives. But if you're new, November 1. Next slide. So the eligibility on this program is a little tighter. The chart is on the right there. But similarly, you need to pay your home heating costs directly. You need to have at least one household member who is a US citizen or is a permanent legal resident and can provide proof of that. This can be anyone in your household. So a child, anyone living in your home that can provide that proof can make you eligible to receive LEAP. Just as a reminder, our EOC program does not have any citizenship requirements. So that one might be better for you if you're not a permanent legal resident or US citizen. And the income qualifications are 60% of state median income, and the income limits are there on the right. They will be slightly adjusted. This was for last season, so they'll be updated a little bit, but it's close to that. How to apply? Similarly, you can call the HEAT helpline, which is that 1-866-HEAT-HELP. They will mail you an application. You can request a mailed application, or you can apply over the phone with them. You can also go to cdhs.colorado.gov/LEAP, which is a long website, to apply via PEAK, which is an online portal, or to print the PDF application if you don't want to wait for it to be mailed to you. We often do not, we don't recommend people going through the PEAK site unless they're really internet savvy, because often people are less likely to be approved through there because of documentation and everything. So we recommend printed or over the phone, but you can try it through there also if you're feeling good about it. Okay, so next is our crisis intervention program, which is an emergency furnace repair or replacement program for those without a working heating source. This is an emergency program that we'll respond to within 24 hours because we don't want people going without heat. And this one, you need to qualify and be approved for LEAP to be eligible. Now, if your furnace goes out and you had not received LEAP, we can help you apply and receive LEAP over the phone while you're processing your SIP application. To apply, there's a slightly different phone number, 1-855-4MY-HEAT, 1-855-469-4328. And if you call the other one by mistake, you can also get connected to this, but that's the more direct number. Next slide. So we also are moving on to stabilize, the way we stabilize homes. We have weatherization and efficiency programs. I'm going to talk about WAP and CARE, which I'll explain the differences of in just a minute. But they're both programs that provide free weatherization and install free equipment designed to use less energy in your home. So upgrades can include air sealing to keep drafts out, insulation to keep your heat and cooling in, low flow fixtures on your faucets and shower, LED light bulbs that use less energy, Energy Star refrigerators. If you have an old refrigerator that's really sucking a lot of energy, they will replace that. And we also do a lot of furnace tune-ups and some other things. These are the most common. Next slide. So to apply for, or I'll break down the differences between the WAP program and the CARE program. So WAP is Weatherization Assistance Program. This one is run through the Colorado Energy Office, and you are eligible for it if you qualify for LEAP, SNAP, SSI, TAMP, etc. If you are already enrolled in those programs, then you're automatically qualified. If you are not enrolled in these programs, the qualification is the same as LEAP, which is 60% of state median income. And this one serves all counties in Colorado, and you can apply at the website listed there, or you can call the heat helpline again and connect to the local weatherization agency that will talk you through the process. And then we have the Colorado Affordable Residential Energy Program, CARE, which is an Energy Outreach Colorado program. This one, the eligibility is less strict. So you're eligible if your income is below 80% of state median income. So the same as our energy assistance program. This one is limited to certain counties because it is funded by utility support. I believe everyone in the East Colfax neighborhood should be covered though in Douglas, Arapahoe, and Denver County. To apply, you can again go to our website and energyoutreach.org/programs-for-individuals/care-program, which is a mouthful. You can navigate there from our homepage or take this from the presentation later. You can also call my colleague Mitch at 303-226-5061. You'll need to leave a message there and tell them you want to apply, and they'll talk you through the process. If you're not sure which one you should apply for, please feel free to call that number, and the CARE program will talk you through which one is best to serve you, but they both provide the same upgrades to your home. Next. So we also have a community solar program that's one of our newer programs. Energy Outreach Colorado manages community solar subscriptions for those who are enrolled in any other EOC program. So right now we've enrolled folks that have received bill assistance from us, have received emergency furnace repair, and that's the main way we have enrolled folks, although there is now going to be a wait list to get others who are interested to be able to enroll in this program also. Basically, no equipment is installed on your home. You won't receive solar panels on your home. Owners and renters are eligible. So if you know renters that are that you could recommend to this also, feel free. So basically, when you are subscribed to this program, you are assigned a portion of solar panels in a local solar garden, and you receive credits on your energy bill based on how much solar energy is produced each month by that portion of your solar panel in that garden. And it will always end up being a nice credit on your bill. So for more information, you can email solar@energyoutreach.org or call my colleague Kim Shields at 303-226-7064. Next slide, please. All right, and lastly, since I run the energy education program, I wanted to leave you with a little bit of energy education in case you were feeling inspired to do a few things in your home to use less energy if you were one of the 50% that said your energy bills were too high. Just a brief definition: efficiency versus conservation. So when we talk about efficiency, we're talking about receiving or getting upgrades to your appliances or equipment to higher efficiency models, those that use less energy by design. So an Energy Star refrigerator would be an example. This also includes smart devices in your home. That could be a smart thermostat, a timer on your water heater that control and automate your energy usage automatically. It also includes weatherization that you could receive through our WAP or CARE programs that keeps that heating and cooling in, and can include both high and low cost improvements. So if you installed an LED light bulb in your home, that would be an efficiency measure. And then also the conservation is a way to use less energy with your current appliances or equipment. And these are no cost actions. So if you turn off the lights, that is an example of conservation. Next slide. So just some quick tips for saving energy in your home. I have some one-time actions that you can take. So you can reduce your water heating bills by simply turning down the knob on your water heater. If you have a gas water heater, this is especially easy to do. If you have a knob on the front of it, to turn it down to 120 degrees, usually that's a triangle symbol on the knob there, and that'll be enough to keep your water really warm and prevent you from having scalding injuries also if the water gets too hot. You can also adjust your refrigerator temperature to 36 to 39 degrees. You can do this by turning the knob. Again, usually they don't have temperature measurements, but they might be from 1 to 6 or 1 to 9. Turn it to about the middle of that. The higher the number, the colder the temperature. So you can turn it down a little. Don't turn it down too much. You can set a sleep mode on electronics that you can find in the options, so they'll turn off automatically. One thing I just learned recently is that you can vacuum your fridge coils a couple of times a year. You'll want to unplug your refrigerator for a few minutes, locate the coils underneath or in the back, vacuum them, and yeah, I'm almost done. And vacuum those, and that'll save your fridge. It'll be run 20% more efficiently. And you can also replace your furnace filter at least once a year, especially as we're gearing up to the winter season. I just want to recommend you do that. And then finally, we have a few everyday actions: adjusting your thermostat when away or asleep, turning it down just a little bit in the winter. And if you have central AC up in the summer, can help save a lot of energy. Washing clothes in cold water is a great way to save on your water heating bills. Using those window coverings to help regulate temperature. And then turning off and unplugging electronics. Any appliance or electronics that has a display on it will be sucking energy even if it is off. So my coffee maker, microwave, those kind of things will still use energy. So if you can unplug them, you'll save even more. And That's it for me. Hope that was helpful somewhat. And my contact information is there also, my email and my phone number. Feel free to reach out to me also if you have any questions or miss some of these phone numbers and websites, and I'm happy to help. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amy, for this great presentation and those tips. One of them, the refrigerator coils, I didn't know about that. So that was really interesting. So thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
All right. Okay. Before we go on to the next presenter, we'll do another poll. The question is, are you concerned about paying your mortgage? And we'll give you a few seconds to answer. All right, we can go ahead and close the poll. And the answer is all. So we have 38% no, yes, sorry, and 63% no. All right, the next question is, are you hoping to stay in the community in the long term? So basically the East Coast Fax community in the long term. Yes, no, I'm not sure. All right, I close the poll. All right, 75% of the folks are hoping to stay in the community long term. That's wonderful. And then we have 8% no and 17% I'm not sure. Thank you for sharing that information. I'm happy to see that most folks want to stay in this community. So next we have Stefka and Brooke from Elevation Community Land Trust, who will share their presentation about the SIP program, which stands for the Stay in Place program. So Stefka and Brooke, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brooke Murphy with Elevation Community Land Trust. Very excited to be here tonight. Thanks again so much to the Fax Partnership for having us. I'm joined by my colleague, Stefka Fanchi, CEO and President of Elevation. And tonight we will be discussing the Stay in Place program, also known as SIP. Next slide. So we will present and walk through a few different scenarios tonight that SIP could apply to for our existing homeowners on the call. And would like to note that the numbers and financials that we discuss are for illustrative purposes only. Next slide. So the Stay in Place program is a partnership between Elevation CLT and the West Denver Renaissance Collaborative, both nonprofits. You may know WDRC, they run the ADU pilot program in West Denver, and Elevation CLT provides permanently affordable homeownership opportunities across the state of Colorado through the Community Land Trust model. Next slide, please. So a brief agenda of our presentation tonight. We'll talk through what is a CLT and how that model works. Then we'll jump into the Stay in Place program and walk through two different scenarios of how they could apply to existing homeowners. Then we'll briefly discuss our application process, who's eligible, how to apply, and have at the end some frequently asked questions and resources for more information if you're interested. So the Stay in Place program was really a direct response to community leaders in Denver who asked our organization and our partners, WDRC, to find solutions that would support existing homeowners in Denver, helping them cope with rising housing costs, rising property taxes, and especially now with some of the financial pressures and consequences of COVID and the foreclosure moratorium, which expired at the end of July. And they really asked us to bring awareness to what existing services were already being provided in our communities through trusted organizations that could specifically help existing homeowners. and essentially help minimize the displacement that we're already seeing in our more vulnerable communities. So I just pulled the map here is from the Urban Displacement Project. And this section is from East Colfax, and I specifically highlighted or called out the Fax Partnership service area in black there. And this map is just illustrating the existing gentrification, housing and development pressures that are already and have been occurring along the corridor for a while, with the deep purple being advanced gentrification and the light blue being those areas that are susceptible to displacement. Next slide. So as we considered the housing and the financial needs of our communities, we thought about how we could use the CLT model, the Community Land Trust model, to serve existing homeowners and provide homeowners with new and different options. So as some background for those who may not be familiar with the Community Land Trust, CLTs began operating in the US. They came out of the civil rights movement. And today, fast forward, there are more than 270 CLTs operating nationwide. So what is a CLT? Great question. So the way a CLT traditionally works is that the nonprofit Community Land Trust will partner with municipalities and or philanthropic funding partners and use public and private funding to purchase or develop residential properties. Then the CLT separates the improvements or the home itself from the land underneath it. And by separating out the value of the land, that enables us to turn around and sell that home to an income qualified home buyer at a new, reduced, and more affordable price. So for example, the CLT could purchase a home on the market for $350,000. Then by divorcing the land or separating the land from the structure or the home, we could sell it to a low to moderate income family for $250,000. The land is still, or the home is still tied to the land through what is called a renewable land lease or a ground lease. And essentially what that means is that a homeowner pays a nominal monthly fee to lease the land from the CLT. Our lease fee right now is $100. And then the land lease also places a price restriction on the resale of the home. And what that does is just ensure that the home remains permanently affordable for generations of families to come. It becomes a piece of public infrastructure and essentially ensures that your community will always have an affordable home ownership opportunity in your neighborhood. Next slide, please. So how does it work with SIP? And we'll get into this. But really what SIP is about is taking this CLT model and applying it in a different way that allows us to serve the needs of existing homeowners. And by joining the CLT as an existing homeowner through SIP, a household is able to realize or leverage their existing equity that they've built up in your home and really use that in any way that you see fit to serve your needs, your family's needs, or any sort of future investment plans or opportunities. So through SIP, someone could build an ADU if that's something you're interested in. You could lower your monthly mortgage payment if your monthly housing costs are becoming unaffordable. You can stay in your home and neighborhood, invest in home repairs or deferred home maintenance, pay off consumer debt, invest in retirement or education, and do this all without having to take on additional debt or having to sell your home. Next slide, please. And I will pass it over to Steffa.
Great, thank you, Brooke. So the Stay in Place program, as Brooke described a little bit about the Community Land Trust model, is an application of that model to existing homeowners. So typically, community land trusts serve first-time homebuyers. What the Stay in Place model does is it takes the same tenants and applies them for existing homeowners who might be cost burdened or want to utilize their finances in a different manner. Let's go to the next slide. So much like the slide that we looked at that had all of the different solutions for different issues, there's a number of folks that might be interested in the Stay in Place program. So you might be struggling to keep up financially, or you might be looking to make room for extended family to live with you. You might be worried about making future mortgage payments. And so there might be some things where you want to make different choices or save money for your education and retirement, or you're concerned about rising property taxes, for example. Any of those reasons, and really there are just so many, this is just a unique opportunity that might fit a small number of folks' goals. And in any of those cases, the first thing that we suggest is that you attend a Stay in Place orientation to learn more about SIP. So we will have short orientations, much like this one, where you could learn about that and really talk one-on-one as well with Elevation staff about your particular situation and whether SIP might work for you. Next slide. So who is eligible for SIP? Much like the other programs that we talked about from Dura and from Energy Outreach, we are an income restricted program. And so that's that first thing. You have to be a Metro Denver homeowner that wants to stay in your neighborhood. You want to keep your home. You might want to leave it to your family in your will. You're really invested, and your value is in staying in your home and in your neighborhood. But you also meet these income qualifications. So we also are 80% AMI as our limit, which is about $79,900 for a household of 4. So you would also have the proper zoning for an ADU if that were one of your options and you were looking at SIP build, which we will talk about in just a moment. Next slide. All right, we are going to walk through and walk alongside really a fictional Denver family to see how the Stay in Place program really works or could work in practice, to give you a better idea, because I absolutely know that the idea of a CLT is a complex one, and one that might not make great sense. But as soon as we hear about this family's experiences, I think that we'll be able to get to a place where we all understand it and are in a good place to ask the right questions. So the family that we're talking about is Raphael and Rachel, and they bought their home 12 years ago when home prices were dropping due to the housing crash. They loved their home, and over the years, they cared for and improved it. They added a garage, they expanded the kitchen by refinancing their mortgage to take advantage of the equity they'd been building as property values rose. That increased their monthly payment, and increasing property taxes made it even higher. But they were still able to afford their housing payment, even if it was a bit tight for their budget. Their kids attended the neighborhood school where Rachel worked as a para, and Ruff's mom lived just up the street. The family had a strong network at their local church and with the regulars at Ross Barbershop. Do the next slide. So when COVID hit, those schools shut down. The barbershop was forced to close its doors, and both Rolf and Rachel applied for unemployment, but that wouldn't be nearly enough to cover the mortgage or all of their other needs. Rachel called their mortgage company and applied for a forbearance, which would suspend their payments during the pandemic. Not having to worry about that $1,600 a month payment was such a relief for them, because it meant that their lives could continue free from the fear of losing the home they loved. But as forbearance the end of forbearance quickly approached, Rachel and Rolf are becoming more and more anxious about what's going to happen when their payments pick up again, knowing that their income's not returned to the levels that they were before COVID. So Rolf knows that from talking to his neighbors and his customers that their home, which cost him $200,000 when they purchased it, could now be worth twice that. If they sold their home, they could pay off their mortgage and make a really good profit that could pay off their debts and make a good start on college and retirement goals. But Rachel hates to think about selling their home and knows they will most likely never be able to afford to buy a home again, especially in the same neighborhood. Her friend's family rents nearby, but her rent is even more than their mortgage payment. Selling their home would mean leaving and making a new life somewhere far away from their friends and family. Let's do the next slide. Rachel learned from a neighbor who'd recently spoken to their city councilwoman that there was a community organization offering some alternatives and choices for struggling homeowners like them, while also building up affordable housing options for the future. She'd never heard of a community land trust, but she wanted to learn more. Community land trusts came out of the civil rights movement of the 1960s. The model creates affordable ownership options by separating the land from the improvements, selling the home to a qualified household, but holding the land in a trust stewarded by the community. In SIP, Raphael and Rachel can sell their property into the land trust and then buy their home back at that affordable price. Because they have equity built up, they can use the difference to pay off debt and make needed repairs, but still be able to lower the new mortgage amount that would be required. Their home would then be tied to the land with a 99-year renewable ground lease that gives the family full access to the property, keeps it owner occupied, and sets a new shared equity resale formula moving forward, so the same affordable opportunity can be offered to that next buyer. Next slide. So we look very quickly at the numbers here. Rolf and Rachel currently pay $16.28 each month toward their mortgage principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. They have about $15,000 in credit card debt and car loans, and they know their home needs some repairs that they haven't been able to afford. So they learned that their home appraised for $380,000. If they choose to enter into the land trust, Elevation would buy their property for that market value and sell the home back to Rolf and Rachel for a new affordable price of $289,530. Elevation prices our homes to be affordable to households making 70% of the area median income, and we make up the difference with subsidies from the city of Denver and from charitable foundations. So because they had a mortgage balance on their home of $110,000, Rolf and Rachel would receive $270,000 at the transaction. They could use that to pay off their debts, to make those home repairs that they've been needing, and they would still have $240,000 left over. If they put all that towards the affordable purchase price for their home, they'll only need a mortgage of less than $53,000, which is a payment of about $577, including principal, taxes, and interest. So you can see that we're moving from $1,600 a month payment to about a less than $600 a month payment. The next slide. So what happened at the end of the day? Though they understood it was not right for everyone, Rachel and Rolf decided that the community land trust option was the best fit for their family and their unique situation. It was the only way they could stay in their home and be able to comfortably pay all their bills. They attended an orientation, met with Elevation staff, applied for mortgage assistance to help them cover their costs because they knew SIP could take 4 to 12 weeks, and they didn't want to jeopardize their ability to qualify for a new mortgage. So at the end of the day, the family sold their land into the CLT, but they still own their home. Because they were able to realize all of the equity they'd built up in their home, they were happy to share that new equity moving forward by offering their home at an affordable price to another qualified family if they should ever wish to sell. But as we heard earlier, Rolf and Rachel, they really wanted to leave their home to their children, which is one reason that they ended up choosing SIP. But it still made them feel good knowing that if their home was ever sold outside of their family, it would remain an affordable opportunity in that neighborhood for generations to come. Let's do the next slide. So as we heard earlier, Ross's mom lived down the street from them. And Raphael's mom, Anna, was also interested to learn more about SIP. She loves living so close to her grandchildren, and she wishes that all of her family could afford to live nearby. Her daughter, Sarah, just had a baby, and Anna rarely gets to see her because they live almost 45 minutes away, even though Sarah works downtown. Anna's proud to have paid her home off, but because of that, she can afford to live there. Oh, and because of that, she can afford to live there even on her fixed income. She would like for Sarah and the baby to move in with her so that she could help babysit, and one day they could help care for her as she ages. But Anna's home's small, and she only has one extra room. She considered adding on to her home, but she doesn't want to have a mortgage. Let's go to the next slide. The family heard from a neighbor that they may be able to add an ADU, or an accessible dwelling unit, to their property. Anna loved this idea as it would provide Sarah and her growing family with their own space, but keep them literally in her backyard. If Sarah ever decided to move, Anna could always lease the ADU to another neighborhood family for a fair rent, which would supplement her fixed income. Let's go to the next slide. So in this case, Anna has owned her home for 32 years. She's built up this equity. And by selling her property into the land trust and then buying back her home at that reduced price, just like Rolf and Rachel, she could use that equity to build an ADU without adding debt. So Anna still owns her home, and the new ADU, but she leases the underlying land from Elevation through that 99-year renewable land lease. By building that ADU on the property, Anna can create an intergenerational home for her family, and also creates this second permanently affordable opportunity that's going to be around benefiting the community for years to come. All right, let's look at the next slide for Anna's numbers. So because as we heard earlier, she didn't have a mortgage at all, we see that her current monthly housing payment is $250. So that's basically taxes and insurance. Her home value was appraised at $380,000. Elevation purchases it for that amount. At the proceeds at the end of the day are going to be $205,000, and that ADU construction cost is $175,000. So we're buying that property, we're building the ADU. Both are being sold back to Anna, and that new repurchase price that is affordable at $292,000. The new mortgage amounts, there will be a mortgage, but it'll be on that ADU, comes to $87,000. Mortgage payment on that is $700, and the affordable rent payment that Sarah can pay is also $700. And so at the end of the day, Anna's net housing payment is $0. Let's go to the next slide. Working with the West Denver Renaissance Collaborative and Habitat for Humanity, Anna discovered that her property was well suited for a large 3-bedroom ADU. She met with Elevation to see how SIP might help her to finance the construction, and she decided to enter into the land trust because it allowed her to achieve most of her goals. She would continue to be mortgage-free and could stay in the home in the neighborhood she loved. The ADU would create a new space for Sarah, and the family would be able to take care of each other. Eventually, Anna would be able to leave both her home and the ADU to Sarah, who could either continue to live in the 3-bedroom ADU and rent the smaller primary home, or could move into the primary home and rent the ADU as her family needs changed. Elevation purchased the land, WDRC and the city provided loans and grants so that the ADU could be constructed. And a year later, Sarah and the baby moved into their beautiful new home and were happy to be near family again in their beloved neighborhood. I'm going to pass it back to Brooke now to talk a little bit about how to qualify for SIP and to actually apply.
Yeah, thanks so much, Stefka. We only have like a minute or two, so I'm just going to run through this really quickly. This slide, just wanted to note again that we do have income limits for our program. They are the same as some of that you heard before, 80% AMI. You can also find this graphic on our website, elevationclt.org. Next slide. So some other important requirements to note for eligibility include attending a SIP orientation, about an hour-long orientation. Meeting with a HUD certified housing counselor is a requirement, will help connect you and set you up. Getting a lender pre-approval letter from one of our approved lenders if you do need a mortgage. We also have some front-end ratios and back-end ratios, which is essentially your housing payment relative to your income for the front end, and then your monthly debt payments relative to your income for the back end. We're happy to walk through that one-on-one if you're interested. Another important thing to note is that you cannot own additional residential property, so you can't own 3 homes. And then also you would need to fill out and complete an elevation application. Next slide. Let's run through this. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Here we go. Okay. So if you are interested in the Stay in Place program or elevation in general, we do have a SIP website, which is www.mywdrc.org/SIP. And you can also email us at sipp@elevationclt.org. And we are happy to connect and walk through the program and see if it could be a good fit for you and your household. Next slide. And these are some frequently asked questions. I know that we have a Q&A coming up, so.
Yeah, maybe we can just use those sort of to refer to as we field questions from folks, so everyone has enough time.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, Brooke and Stefka, for this great presentation. So now we'll open it to the attendees. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and put it in the chat. And I can read it out to the presenters. All right, well, I have a couple. I don't see anything posted yet, but I will go ahead and ask this question to Kate. For the website, the application that is on the website, is it just in English or is it provided in other languages?
So our website, because it's an external CRM system, so unfortunately that is only in English. We do have a bilingual intake specialist on staff that speaks fluent Spanish, and then our contracts, not on our website, but we do have all of our agreements translated into Spanish as well. If you have any other language as your primary language, though, we can access the interpreter services through the City and County of Denver and provide those to you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. I see a few questions that came. For Dora, how long does it take for the loan process?
That is a good question. It depends on the program. So the emergency home repair program, the first one I talked about, we recognize that as a home emergency. And so we try to get that done as quick as possible. So once you're approved, so once you've submitted all the documents and you're approved through a program, we should have the bids completed within 3 days and then the work started within 5. The amount of time it takes to get the work done will just depend on the severity of what's going on with your home. The single family rehabilitation program is a lot more intensive. And so the underwriting process itself takes about 2 months, and then the construction can take about 3 months, depending on what you're looking to have done on your home.
Okay, thank you for answering that. And then we have a question from Sean. Is it 99 years with 14 families every 7 years coming and going? I think is it referring to the SIP program?
Yeah, so every new buyer, it renews to 99 years. So if that home were to stay in the same family for 99 years, at the 99th year, that is a renewable land lease. So it can renew one more time. So let's say that the exact same family continued to pass it down through generations. It would end after 198 years. However, every new person that buys it enters into that 99-year ground lease. So I hope that answered your question.
Thank you. Next, we have a question from Monique. If we need our roof repaired and have already received an insurance claim estimate, is it too late to apply to DURA?
Yes. So if you have a leak, if you've received an estimate, you can already come. It's not too late. If you've already had the work done, it would be too late. We do have, if you find a contractor that you get an estimate from and you want to try to use them, you can provide that information to our rehab specialist that would come out and do the home inspection. And then they could have that contractor apply as well and compete for the bids. But we're going to go with the lowest bidding one. If you've already received your estimate from the insurance company, you can still definitely go with us. It's just, we can't reimburse work that has already been done.
Okay. But if it's just an estimate, can the work still be done by DURA?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay. As long as the work has not been finalized. Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. And then we have a question from Sylvia. Are these programs in Aurora?
The DURA programs, there's a similar program in Aurora through the Aurora city government.
Okay, thank you.
SIP is actually potentially available in the city of Aurora. Community Land Trust program itself is in the city of Aurora, but we do not have like a designated funding source for SIP in Aurora. But if you were interested and wanted to get in touch with us, we would be happy to work on your behalf.
Okay, great, thank you.
And then, just so you know, all EOC programs are statewide. So Aurora residents are eligible.
All right, and the next question, I had a DURA loan several years ago. Can I apply again?
Yes, you can. So the emergency home repair program, you are eligible for every 5 years for up to $10,000. The single family rehabilitation program, you are eligible for every 10 years. So if it was more than 10 years ago, you can have that work done. And then the RAMP program, you're eligible every 5 years as well. If you're not sure exactly when you had that work done, we have a database of everybody's loans. And so you could just give us a call and we can look you up in the database and see exactly when it was.
Okay, thank you. We have a couple more questions. Is the Stay in Place program funded and active?
It is in the city of Denver.
Awesome, okay. And then is 80220 approved for the ADU?
I think Monica wants to answer that, right, Monica?
Yes. Yeah, not yet. Councilwoman Sawyer and Councilman Herndon have submitted, have expressed interest in having a legislative rezoning for the East Colfax neighborhood, not the whole zip code, but just for the East Colfax neighborhood. And my understanding is that community planning and development are currently evaluating that proposal, looking at it, and likely are moving that forward. So stay tuned. I believe this fall there should be a legislative rezoning for ADUs in the East Colfax neighborhood. And then I'll go ahead and answer Monique's question now that I'm here on the mic here. We will post the recording of this Zoom on our website, www.thefaxdenver.com. Thank you so much for all of your questions, and to our speakers. We are so honored that you spent your evening with us today. We do have some wonderful gift cards So for those that are still on the line, but before we go to our gift cards, we just have 2-3 more questions to ask our participants.
All right, I'm back again. All right, so the first question is, was this information useful? Yes, no, somewhat. Wait a couple seconds and then we will close the poll. 100% yes. Great, thank you. The next question, would you attend a future Fax Town Hall or recommend someone to attend? Yes, no, I'm not sure. Couple seconds. All right, answers 89% say yes, 11% say I'm not sure. Thank you for that. And then last but not least, what is the likelihood if you would use one of these resources presented this evening? Very likely, likely, somewhat likely, or not likely. Give it a couple of seconds and then we'll close the poll. All right. Answers, 30% says very likely, 30% says likely, 20% says somewhat likely, and 20% said not likely. Great, thank you. Thank you all so much for those answers. Really appreciate it. And then now we'll just share about upcoming events. So we have a mobile food pantry and resource fair happening at our office at 6740 East Colfax, August 10th from 10 a.m. until the food is gone. We'll have partners like Denver Health, Denver Public Library, and Aurora Interfaith Community Services and Holy Cakes present to share resources with the community. We also have a mobile food drive September 14th from 10 a.m. until the food is gone. We have a bike giveaway at our office parking lot. It's on a first come, first serve basis, and it will be August 19th from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And if you are interested, please give me a call. My phone number is 720-384-9131. So we can hold a bike for you and you can come pick it up on August 19th from 4 to 6 p.m. And last but not least, we have upcoming vaccine clinics. There's one happening on August 24th and the other one September